Yesterday was a very big day, wasn't it? With the common sense ruling by the Supreme Court, which finally provided legal clarity in answer to the simple question, what is a woman? But now, as the dust settles and we woke up to headlines like these today, then a simple question needs to be asked. Why on earth did the highest court in the land need to be invoked at a significant cost to taxpayers to tell us what we already knew? Because we know, don't we? We know what a woman is. But no, our cowardly politicians stuttered and stammered their way around this simple fact.
Transphobic, yes or no?
Look, is it transphobic? Look, I don't even know how to start answering these questions.
A woman can have a penis.
Look, I don't think we can conduct this debate with, you know...
Sorry, have I offended you in some way?
No, it's just... I just...
And our now Prime Minister also has said this.
Is it transphobic to say only women have a cervix?
Well, it is something that shouldn't be said. It is not right.
And don't forget, our now Foreign Secretary suggested that men could essentially grow a cervix. But don't worry, it wasn't just this current government, though, was it? No, they were all at it.
So a woman can have a penis?
Well, quite clearly.
I mean, what? Don't forget this.
And there are some people that I think have decided to use women's rights as a sort of cloak of acceptability to cover what is transphobia.
And so in this era of nonsense, campaign groups like Stonewall had an absolute field day, and other groups popped up left, right and centre to capitalise on this new cowardice, confusion and gaslighting. Intellectual dishonesty became rife, and for years, women who dared to speak the truth were vilified, forced out of their jobs and banished from polite society. And let me ask you this, the fact that it took ordinary women to stand up, say no, and to fight this common sense case at huge emotional and financial expense is astonishing, isn't it? The fact they even had to reach the highest court in the land, even more so. So I hope that politicians woke up today with a sense of embarrassment because they failed in their duty and they metaphorically threw many of their own citizens under the bus. Truth, honesty and integrity matters. And if politicians are not willing or able to uphold these things, then quite frankly, they've got no business being in public life. And if any of them ever again struggle with the simple question of what is a woman, listen, I can lend you my 4-year-old son, because even he knows, and I quote, only boys have a winky. Honestly, I was really happy yesterday, Joe Phillips. I thought it was such a, for once in this crazy world, I just thought for once common sense did prevail. So I didn't want to really focus on the negative side of it. But the truth of the matter is, I found it pretty shameful, actually, that our politicians let all of this get to such a point where the highest court in the land had to step in.
No, I completely agree. And I mean, interestingly, you showed the clip of Nicola Sturgeon, and it was partly her line on transgender rights that did for her career, along with many other things as well. But it was the
Well, being arrested didn't help.
Being arrested didn't help, but that really, put the cat among the pigeons completely with that bloke in a woman's prison.
Yeah, Isla Bryson.
But I just think, it is, I completely agree with you, Michelle, it's absolutely ridiculous that it had to go to the Supreme Court, but it is because of Scotland that it had to, because the Equality Act covers the whole of the UK and Scotland chose to take a different path. But what we saw there was politicians wriggling. You didn't have any clips of any Tories on that, but they also wriggled, on the skewer, along with Labour, Liberal, Democrat and other people. And I think, what it shows you is that politicians are so easily swayed by a very vocal minority. And I think the trans for many, many people, and I think one of the things to take away from the judgment yesterday was the ruling and the very, very clear point made by the judge that this isn't a victory for either side. To try and turn it into another war would be ridiculous. And of course, there are many trans people who will feel upset and all the rest of it, but they are protected. This is absolutely setting it straight, and let's hope it's an end to the nonsense.
Do you think it will be, Kelvin?
Well, it was totally gut-churning by the left. Starmer basically saying women can have a penis. Now, we have a penis now, but it's in number 10. I mean, it is...
Kelvin Mackenzie, how rude. We do polite debates on Tubes and Co, young man.
I'm not apologising for that. I mean,
could have been a lot worse, Michelle.
That was a disgrace, that, wasn't it? Absolutely. The guy's our Prime Minister, OK? And he has that view. Did he really have that view? Well, or did he think, actually, there's some cheap votes out there among the, quotes, progressives in the country who are going to say, we've got to worry about the trans people. Actually, I don't worry about them at all. They've made a bet, they've decided to head out, and we're being sent the bill. Because how many loos are now going to have to be built in order to accommodate this? So we're going to have, it's going to be like our dustbins. The whole series of different colours will delineate your male, your female, your trans, you're disabled, you've got only one leg, you're deaf in 3 ears. There will be millions of loos out there now. And I feel sorry for her. The other place I feel sorry for is sports changing rooms. How is that going to work? And what about those ladies? Fantastic on those Scottish ladies. What about those ladies who work in the maternity up in Leeds? What about them? Absolutely. Suddenly, they are fighting. They are going to lose their jobs. That hospital, those chief executives and those people running that, they should all be cleared out.
No,
so streeting, instead of waffling all day long about reducing this, that and the other, go straight into that Leeds hospital and say, you are fired. Right, boom, straight out.
No, absolutely. And there's pressure on at the moment. I can't remember the name of the prison. There's a prison that has got a segregated wing for transgender prisoners. And there are calls, quite rightly, for that to be closed down and those prisoners to go into male prisons.
I've got to say, not everyone was delighted by this. And we covered this at length, didn't we, yesterday? And even yesterday, I've got to say, people was writing and going, why are you giving this so much airtime? And I stressed it yesterday. It's such an important issue for anyone that's a female, anyone that's got a mother, which I'm assuming is almost all of us, if we're lucky enough still to have them. You've got sisters, daughters, granddaughters, nieces. This is such a big issue. Not everyone, though, was happy about it. Labour for Trans, for example, said the Supreme Court's decision is hugely disappointing and it's a result of ceaseless lobbying from a well-funded anti-trans network with links to the global far right. We will continue to fight against all attempts to strip trans people of their rights and will use all levers within the Labour Party to make trans voices heard. Now, I'd be absolutely fascinated to hear what are the trans rights that people think have been stripped?
Well, they haven't.
With this clarity yesterday. Exactly. I don't think
and the judge made it absolutely crystal clear. They have not lost any rights for their protection under existing law with regard to discrimination and all the rest of it. And what it does, Michelle, as you and I both know, it means that we can feel comfortable with our nieces, granddaughters or whatever, going shopping on the bus with a friend, 14-year-old or something, going into changing rooms, and all of that sort of stuff. And I think it's really significant, and we haven't heard a lot actually in reaction to it. It's going to be huge for women's sport because it must finally put an end to this utter nonsense of men being able to compete in women's sport.
Well, we've had some breakthroughs on that, haven't we? We had Seb Kerr, for example. He was having none of it. He'd already been very clear. You've had some sports that already did that.
His strength on that almost cost him the job at
the IOC.
Being the boss of the Olympics, actually. So because they hated that view, right? And so there's a lot of people. I agree with you. The Tories, by the way, absolutely shocking. Right?
Yeah.
What we lack in our country is politicians who will go against the progressive liberal tide because they're scared that they get pigeonholed in some way. Actually, I hope, and that is why Farage is doing so well, because he's obviously probably the cleverest politician of my age, certainly since a Blair character, right? But he seems to say things which seem to chime with people, and so this will be hanging around Starmer's neck for 1,000 years.
Yeah.
Can you imagine? You're running the Farage campaign. You say, "I'll tell you what. We'll do two things. We'll get him taking the knee, and we'll get him saying that women can have penises."
But Kelvin,
that in itself will see him out. By the way.
But can you imagine?
Goodbye. Bye-bye, Starmer.
What advisors ever said? Just don't answer the question. Just talk
weak
nonsense.
ones.
Yes,
weak ones.
But you know, the
Because
common sense tells you he's got a daughter, he's got a wife.
Yeah.
It's just it's weak politicking, and it's politicians that don't have the chops to be able to tackle I want to say difficult issues, but it's not even a difficult issue, is it, ladies and gents? All of this nonsense should have been nipped in the bud such a long time ago. The fact that it wasn't then emboldened absolute ridiculousness to spread among society, and then we end up exactly where we have just seen ourselves. What will be interesting next, ladies and gents, is what all of these companies and these organisations do next. You remember my saga with my gym, of course, that I left because I did not appreciate a man being in my changing room. We reached out to those guys yesterday for comments. We haven't heard a comment back from them yet, but don't worry, I'm a very patient individual, so and I'm not going anywhere, so we shall see, won't we, what happens. And my last point on this, before we move on, this notion that it's far right to care about women and girls' rights. It's absolutely not far right. It's not even right wing. It's just right. That's it. It's just right to care about reality. I certainly care about it. Do you? Lots coming up in